Good morning and welcome to Big World IT Services. Today, I want to take us on a journey of likely interview questions for technical virtual assistant. So, let's say you've been able to get an interview invite. So, what are the questions you are most likely to be asked by your potential employer? Now, I'll start. 1. How do you prioritize and manage multiple tasks and responsibilities, especially when dealing with urgent issues or updates? 2. Can you share an example of a situation where you had to post tasks on a project management tool? What steps did you take to ensure clarity and organization? 3. Describe a time when you had to communicate technical instructions or updates from a product team to developers. How did you ensure effective communication? 4. What project management tools are you familiar with and which one do you find most effective for your workflow? 5. How do you handle confidential information and what measures do you take to ensure data security and privacy? 6. In a fast-paced environment, how do you manage to stay proactive and anticipate the needs of the product team and founders? 7. What strategies do you use to ensure that your notes and documentation are easily understandable and accessible to others in the organization? So these are the likely questions you might be asked by your potential employer. But there is something I want to point out. If you look at the questions, they are kind of asking you what the knowledge of software and tools that you have and how you handle tasks. The interviewer is not expecting you to list like, oh, I know how to use Trello, I know how to use HubSpot, No. You are expected to outline, talk as if, oh, I've used this. So you let the interviewer have a feeling of, oh, I know what you are talking about. I've used this, I've done this with this. Like the first question, how do you prioritize and manage multiple tasks and responsibilities, especially when dealing with urgent issues or updates? So you can say something like, okay, like prioritize or manage multiple tasks. If you look at it, you can add priority levels on Trello to your task and assign it to different people. And you can give due date. Then, can you share an example of a situation where you had to post tasks on a project management tool? What steps did you take to ensure clarity and organization? Okay, like you can say something like, okay, I once used Trello to assign tasks to my team members. So to ensure clarity, you have assign tasks to individual members. You don't just post it on, okay, anybody can pick it. Then you assign the the status of each task, like assigned, pending, and progress, in progress, stuff like that. Then number 3 says, describe a time when you had to communicate technical instructions or update from a product team to developers. How did you ensure effective communication? Here, I believe the person is trying to tell you, how do you use, do you have a knowledge of internal communication tools? Why should you as a person listen to, what your product team are saying and communicate it to developers? With a tool like Slack, you can create channels for individual departments, product team channels, developers channels, so that once a staff in product team wants to have a conversation with a developer, you can just go to the channel for developers and throw a question in there, this is what I want, rather than wait for you as the general manager or the project manager to come and start asking questions on behalf of another team. So 4, what project management tools are you familiar with, and which one do you find most effective for your workflow? There are many project management tools, but you are not asked to list the tools. So you can just say something like, okay, like the one that you're most familiar with is, let's say you've used ClickUp for some companies, you've used maybe Trello for another. You can just say, okay, I have a knowledge of Trello and ClickUp, but I think I find ClickUp most interesting. Then you can say your reason. And how do you handle confidential information, and what measures do you take to ensure data security and privacy? You handle confidential information by assigning appropriate access permission and restrictions. Then you can ensure data security by having your staff sign to a non-disclosure agreement. Okay, so in a fast-paced environment, how do you manage to stay proactive and anticipate the needs of the product team and founders? So in a fast-paced environment, what you do is, okay, everybody knows their job schedule, like the product team. So you let you schedule tasks ahead of time, so that when people come in the morning, they don't have to wait for you. They just go straight to the software to know the tasks that are available. Then they will start working on them. Then for the founders should have a way of communicating their expectations to you. You will now be the one to have a way of communicating it to your product team in how you assign tasks to them. Then what strategies do you use to ensure that your notes and documentation are easily understandable and accessible to others in the organization? I think here they are trying to ask you, after every task you perform or your staff perform, do you mandate it for them to leave a note of the activities they carried out on the particular task? So that if by another day they are not around, another staff who have never handled such a task have to now work on it, they will not be waiting for the previous handler to come and explain anything to them. They will be cool, like understanding how far the task have gone and where to continue from. So I would have loved that I give you like answers, but I think an interviewer is looking for your own level of understanding. So rather than cram, you should like sit down with these interview questions and learn them. Thank you so much.